I've been into Lily for 12 years, watching her switch up boyfriends one after the other. Every time I thought I might finally get her heart to settle, she'd block me for some other guy. Then, over a month later, she was standing in a huge sea of roses, her face turning red, asking if I could give her another shot. I reached into my bag and pulled out a bright red wedding invite, handing it to her with a grin. "I'm getting hitched next week. Hope you can make it." Lily dropped a message in our old friends group chat. "Meet at the usual spot tonight. Got an announcement." Jake, my best bud, couldn't resist teasing her. "Oh, getting all serious now. Is our Queen of Hearts finally ready to settle down?" He'd joked like that before. Normally, Lily would laugh it off and tell him to back off, but this time she just replied with a single word. "Yes." Just that one word hit everyone like a stone in calm water, causing a wave of surprise. The quiet group chat blew up instantly. "No way. Did I read that right? Is our heartbreak queen coming to land? Did our Romeo finally stick around long enough to see the light? Miss Lynn hasn't been seeing anyone lately. No flirting either. The main guy has to be our Romeo. After all these years of his constant support, congrats, Romeo." It wasn't a secret I was into Lily. Everyone knew I had a thing for her. She kept her kindness and patience just for me. Lily didn't add anything else, silently acknowledging all the jokes about us. Over the years, even though she dated a bunch of guys, I was her one constant. Anyone would think my persistence had finally paid off. Lily organized the get-together, but was the last to show up, followed by a shy, reserved guy. He was young, but undeniably handsome, probably feeling out of place with new people around. He looked nervous, reminding me so much of myself 12 years ago. When I first joined the Lee family, the group chat, which had been laughing and joking, suddenly went silent as Lily introduced him. "Let me introduce my boyfriend Ethan," she said, her eyes soft and full of first love vibes. Sensing the awkwardness, Ethan waved shyly. "Hey everyone." Jake was the first to react, laughing loudly. "Big secret, huh? When did you guys start dating?" He kept glancing at me, trying to hide his worry. Was he scared I'd freak out or couldn't handle it? I looked down, swirling my drink, feeling bitter. Lily and I were always more than friends, but less than lovers. She never gave me a solid reason to be jealous, so what right did I have to make a scene? Over the years, Lily bounced from one relationship to another, never formally introducing any of her boyfriends to us. It implied something everyone understood. She cuddled up to Ethan, smiling. "We've been together for over 2 months now. Ethan's kind of shy, so don't freak him out." 12 years ago, it was the same story with Romeo. Back then, I had just moved from a small southern town to the high-profile Lee family estate near the capital. I was mocked for my broken Mandarin until Lily took me under her wing. I was 14, and Lily's radiant smile became my guide, pulling me into their circle. Everyone reacted quietly, naturally siding with me over Ethan after our decade-long friendship. Plus, everyone thought I'd end up with Lily. The room grew tense, and Ethan looked even more uneasy, whispering to Lily, "Sis, feels like they're not too welcoming." I felt a twinge of discomfort at his choice of words. When Lily and I were teens, her favorite prank was sneaking up on me, grabbing whatever I was holding, or jumping on my back, making me call her sister. She was 2 months older, crafty, always persistent until I gave in, flushing and reluctantly calling her sister. Back then, she was still a bit naive, keeping a classy demeanor around other guys, just as Lily was about to calm Ethan down. Suddenly, a glass broke in the corner. It was Dan, who never got along with me. His usually handsome face was stern, voice angry. "Lily, what have you been doing to Romeo all these years?" Her expression darkened, eyes locking onto mine. "I've always seen Romeo as a younger brother." "Just a younger brother, huh?" I wondered if she forgot. Last year, during a New Year's gathering, Jake brought fireworks and called us outside. Lily was beside me, holding my arm and smiling. "No, Romeo from my family will stay here with me." Someone nearby mocked, "Since when did Romeo become part of your family?" She tossed a tangerine at them, laughing harder. "He's always been. Romeo's my childhood fiancé." She could calmly call me her younger brother months later, looking me straight in the eye. I felt a mix of discomfort and relief, like finally getting a response after years of waiting. My feelings for Lily were the same, no longer holding expectations, no longer deeply hurt by the outcome. Dan wanted to speak up again, but I shut him down. He glared, spat, and stormed off. It didn't feel right to stay, so I grabbed my phone and followed him, ready to leave. As I reached for the door, Lily called out, "Romeo, come back." I turned, smiled, and said, "Sis, you all have fun. I'm going to check on Dan." It was the first time I called her sister so easily, but she didn't seem happy. Her face froze, then darkened as she repeated, "Come back." I didn't listen, pushed open the door, and walked out, hearing glass shatter behind me as the door closed. Looking for Dan was just an excuse to bail. We never got along. In school, he'd throw balls at me during gym, cut up my art projects, hide my textbooks, and leave bugs in my desk. As we got older, nothing changed. Even though he spoke up for me this time, I didn't want to fix things between us. I was heading home when I saw Dan leaning against the wall, smoking. "You came with Jake?" he asked. "Are you heading back now? Can you give me a lift?" I sighed, not wanting to say no. After 12 years, this was a rare moment we weren't arguing. I dropped him off at his place. He stayed seated, then finally said, "That Ethan kid reminds me a lot of you back then. But what does that matter? No matter how similar he is, he's not me, and I'm not him." Not wanting to continue, I opened the car door and shooed him away, ignoring his muttered curses as I drove to the nearby villa. My family lived next door to Dan's, and beyond that was Lily's family home. In this neighborhood, everyone was either wealthy or influential. Just as I parked, Dan called, telling me to check my WeChat. When I opened it, the group chat was buzzing with red packets and money transfers. Lily had added Ethan, and everyone was sending red packets to congratulate her on finding a boyfriend. I joined in, sent my own red packet, but as soon as it went through, Lily kicked me out of the group. Right after, she sent me a private message. "Sorry, Romeo. Your presence makes Ethan uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch for now." I pressed my lips together, feeling punched in the chest. After a moment, I replied, "All right," but instantly I saw a red exclamation mark. Lily had deleted me. From our youthful days to these brilliant years, 12 years of knowing each other were crushed by her 2-month relationship. I stared at that mark, dazed, my eyes burning but no tears coming. The old Lily would shake me, smiling. "Romeo, other than my parents, no one means more to me than you." Now this Lily told me, "Your presence makes Ethan uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch." How ridiculous. I liked Lily, but I never clung to her or crossed any boundaries. I never flirted or did anything suggestive. Whenever I found out she had a boyfriend, I kept my distance, fearing my feelings would burden her. But every time I pulled away, it annoyed her. Lily's first boyfriend was actually my college roommate, a guy who knew about my feelings for her. Later, they walked hand in hand in front of me, my roommate grinning. He seemed to forget all the times we'd shared drinks, genuinely grateful as he said, "Romeo, thanks. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have won Lily over." That day, standing on the tree-lined path outside the library, I felt like a total fool. I realized he had befriended me just to get close to Lily. How many teenage boys could resist a campus heartthrob who was both beautiful and from a wealthy family? I distanced myself from both him and Lily. Their relationship lasted only 3 days. When he returned, he was furious, red-eyed, demanding. "Lily dumped me. Are you happy now?" I was baffled. I hadn't done anything. But since he asked, I decided to tell the truth. "Yeah, I'm happy." That night, Lily insisted on taking me out for a big meal, teasing with a mischievous grin. "You've been ignoring me for 3 days. Can you stop being mad?" I earnestly explained, "I'm not mad. It's just that now you're dating someone. We should keep some distance. It's better for everyone. But I only agreed to go out with him because you two were close. If Romeo likes him, I like him. If Romeo doesn't like him, neither do I." She said it with absolute confidence. Whenever she dated, she avoided anyone connected to me. She didn't even bring her boyfriends around us publicly, but the high society circle in the capital was small enough that running into acquaintances was inevitable. Even if she didn't say anything, news of her relationships would eventually reach me through others. During holiday gatherings, someone would joke, "You've had so many boyfriends. When will you bring one for us to meet?" She'd place a shrimp in my bowl and casually take the one I'd peeled, replying nonchalantly, "They're not quite at that level yet." Some of her boyfriends added me on social media, either pleading or cursing, all trying to get me to stay away from Lily. After enough times, I understood. Even if I did nothing, my existence was a burden. So when Lily decided to cut ties for Ethan's sake, I respected her choice. But why did she have to kick me out of the group? An hour later, Jake kicked open my bedroom door. Seeing I was okay, he scratched his head. "Man, I was worried you'd do something drastic. Just came to check on you." I glared, pressing my lips together without responding. A few minutes later, he cautiously asked, "Romeo, Lily is just temporarily confused. We can all see how much Ethan resembles you. Once she comes to her senses, could you give her another chance?" What he didn't say was that Ethan reminded him of me from back then. I frowned slightly, not answering directly. "Jake, I want to go back south to visit my grandma's place." When my mom was pregnant with me, my dad's business hit a rough patch and nearly went bankrupt. They consulted a feng shui master who blamed my mom's pregnancy, saying I was destined to bring bad luck that would ruin my dad's financial luck. But my mom was already 9 months pregnant, so there was no turning back. As soon as I was born, I was sent south to my grandmother's. She named me Max, hoping I'd live peacefully year after year, but when I was 14, she passed away, leaving me all alone. I used to think, at least I had Lily. Even if we weren't lovers, I was always her number one choice. But reality slapped me hard. It was the rainy season. The misty southern landscape was drizzled lightly. Holding an umbrella, I walked onto the familiar cobblestone path. At the end of the road stood an old 3-story building where I'd spent 14 years of my life. My mom always said my grandmother was stubborn. Even though her daughter married into wealth, she insisted on staying in the countryside, clinging to that old house. But it was this stubborn woman who gave me the happiest childhood. The rain was light. Vendors roamed the streets on tricycles, calling out on loudspeakers, "Fresh bayberries! Fresh bayberries!" A man from the small villa next door came out with an umbrella, calling the vendor over. Seeing me by the road, he asked in surprise, "Max, what brings you back? It's not Memorial Day yet." I forced a smile. "Miss home. Came back to stay a few days." He glanced at the suitcase I was holding, sympathy in his eyes. "Kid, why'd you come all by yourself? Your grandma's old house hasn't been lived in for ages, and it's been raining these past days. It must be damp inside. How about staying at our place for now? Your sister Ava is hardly ever home. You'd be great company." With that, he grabbed my suitcase and cheerfully held my hand, leading me back to the villa. I was put in his daughter Ava's room, watching Uncle Sam bustling in and out. I finally understood what it meant to be overwhelmed by hospitality. After several refusals, he looked at me hurt, asking if I thought his home was too modest, and I gave in. Ava's room was clean and simple, dominated by a huge bookshelf filled with books, models, trophies, and certificates. It suited her well, the overachiever from childhood to college. Ava was 2 years older than me. We weren't exactly close, but we weren't strangers either. Besides growing up together, we were also university alumni. She had a scholarship to the country's top university, while I got in due to my local residency. That evening, Dan called me. Through the phone, his voice sounded dull. "Jake said you went back south." I hummed in response. After a long pause, he muttered, "Why didn't you tell me? I could use a break too." I had long realized Dan's feelings for Lily as we moved past our teenage years. Standing by the window, watching the endless drizzle, I rejected him without hesitation. No need. A brotherly bonding trip wasn't our style. Dan ground his teeth, called me an idiot, and hung up promptly. A few years later, Ava had grown from a simple, innocent girl into a graceful young woman. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes reflecting emotions I couldn't quite read. "It's been a while," she said, her voice as lively and pleasant as I remembered. I smiled at her. It has. Since the villa's owner had returned, I naturally had no reason to stay. I said my goodbyes to Uncle Sam, who frowned, thinking it over. "You haven't been back for so long. and your grandma's old house isn't exactly stocked. Why don't we do this? Ava can move in with you to help take care of things. I was about to decline when Ava responded first. All right, let me go with you and help clean up first. It didn't seem right for a guy and girl to stay alone together, but I couldn't refuse the father and daughter. So, Ava and I headed to my grandmother's house, though it hadn't been lived in for a while. I hired people every year to inspect and repair the house. Aside from a layer of dust, it was in decent condition. After we finished cleaning, I sat on the steps outside, staring off into the distance. The sky was clear and bright after the rain, large white clouds floating against the deep blue backdrop, a rare sight compared to the smog-choked skies of the capital. Ava handed me a bottle of water, and I looked up smiling. Why did you come back all of a sudden? She smiled back. My dad tricked me into it. What about you? She asked in return. Ava was undeniably beautiful. The warm sunlight fell on her, dusting her in a light layer of golden powder. Unlike Lily's striking and bold appearance, Ava's features were gentle and elegant, radiating scholarly charm. I looked away, choosing my words carefully. Healing. Life in the countryside moves slowly. I gradually adapted to the polite and peaceful cohabitation with Ava. She was a considerate roommate. Afraid I'd get bored, she brought over a stack of extracurricular books for me to pass the time. She even somehow managed to find a puppy that looked just like the one my grandmother used to have. I squatted down, petting the dog, my heart filled with mixed emotions. Ava stood quietly beside me. After a long time, I heard her say, "Max, are you feeling hurt?" It was a familiar phrase, stirring memories buried deep in time. When I was little, local kids often mocked me for being a parentless child, or worse, an illegitimate kid. At that age, I was soft-hearted and could only hide somewhere to cry. Every time I cried, Ava would always find me. She'd gently pat my head and ask, "Max, are you feeling hurt?" Gradually, fewer and fewer people bullied me, until one day I saw Ava cornering a boy who'd thrown rocks at me, giving him a solid beating in a dead-end alley. I finally understood why this skinny, delicate girl had become a fierce little warrior to protect me. It seemed I'd been very attached to Ava before I left here. How did we grow distant over time? A few days later, Jake sent me a short video. In the video, Lily was slumped on the ground, clutching a bottle and calling out, "Max! Max!" Beside her, Ethan's brows were tightly furrowed, his expression dark. Under the video were two messages. "Max, when are you coming back? Lily's drunk and keeps asking to see you. She's at the flower garden making a scene and we don't know what to do." The flower garden was the old haunt Derek had mentioned last time, the most exclusive club in the capital, owned by the Lee family. Lily often drank too much when she went out, and every time, I'd be the only one she'd follow home peacefully. Even drunk, she'd still recognize me. I once asked her if she was scared of mistaking someone else for me. She shook her head and pouted. "How could I ever mistake you? You're the one and only Max." It was these seemingly small moments that kept my feelings for her alive over 12 years. Seeing even a hint of hope was enough to keep me going. "Wasn't it?" I replied. "From now on, don't tell me about her anymore." As soon as I sent the message, Jake's call came through. I hesitated before answering. "Hey, Max. Lily hasn't been doing well these past few days." Before he could finish, there was a burst of shouting in the background. "Lily, behave yourself and stop grabbing my phone." The next second, Lily's voice came through the receiver. "Hello, hello. Is that Max? When are you coming to get me? I haven't been feeling well these past few days, and you didn't come to see me. I haven't seen you in so long." Her voice grew softer and more uncertain, tinged with a sob. "Max, I miss you." Without a second thought, I hung up. That night, Ethan sent me a friend request saying he had something to show me. I had no interest, but he wouldn't give up, trying to add me repeatedly. By the 20th attempt or so, I accepted. He sent a photo. In the hotel room, Lily lay on a large bed, eyes closed, her dark hair spread out, looking like an alluring temptress. Ethan was lying beside her. "Max, I know you like her too, but Lily only sees you as family and habit. She told me herself that I'm the only one she loves. She got drunk tonight because she was jealous I talked to another girl and came looking for you, so please don't misunderstand." Reading his long message, I felt nothing but disinterest. My 12 years of feelings had ended the moment she kicked me out of the group. Not loving her anymore wasn't as hard as I thought. I calmly replied, "Oh, wish you both happiness." It rained nonstop for several days. Ava liked to brew tea and sit by the window, writing or sketching. Meanwhile, I lay on the couch with a book. The puppy she'd given me was curled up at my feet, quiet. I named it Pudding. During this time, my relationship with her grew closer. Outside, the sound of rain pattering filled the air. Inside, the scratching of her pen on paper and the occasional rustle of my book created a peaceful atmosphere. Suddenly, an urgent knock broke the calm. Outside stood Ava's neighbor, his face full of worry. "Ava, your father just fainted. You need to go see him." Ava froze, her slender figure swaying before she rushed out like a whirlwind. I quickly followed. Uncle Sam had always looked after my grandmother and me. When she was alive, he helped us a lot, and even now, he often brought us home-cooked food. Uncle Sam lay in bed, his face pale and sickly. Ava frowned and asked, "Dad, are you okay? Should we go to the hospital?" Despite her effort to stay calm, there was a tremor in her voice. Uncle Sam glanced at me, standing behind her, and sighed deeply. "I wasn't planning to tell you this." He waved me closer and pulled a piece of paper from under his pillow. "My time is running out. My biggest worry in life is Ava. Max, I know you're a good kid. I want to entrust her to you." The paper read, "Late stage cancer." Ava snatched the paper, her frown deepening as she read it. She stayed silent for a long time before saying, "It might be a misdiagnosis. Let's go for another checkup soon." Despite her words, Ava grew quieter day by day. When we were kids, she'd find me hiding somewhere to cry. Now it was me looking for her, quietly weeping in secret. When I found her, she tilted her head up, nose red, still misty-eyed. "If you need to cry, just let it out. Don't hold back." I sat beside her, raising my hand, hesitating before gently placing it on her head, just as she'd comforted me when we were young. I softly patted her hair. It was nearing the end of June, and perhaps because of our heavy hearts, this summer felt hotter than usual. She looked up at the sky, choking up. "The reason I came back this time is because my dad told me he was sick. When I got home, he brushed it off with a joke. I thought he was just kidding." I stayed quiet, knowing she needed someone to listen more than someone to talk to. "Max, thank you for everything these past few days. Don't take what my dad said too seriously. I'm not your responsibility, and you shouldn't feel obligated to take care of me or put your marriage on the line for the sake of old family ties. Uncle Sam's last wish was for me to marry Ava." I looked off into the distance, silent for a long time. I couldn't say exactly what my feelings for Ava were. Being with her felt comfortable, even if we didn't say or do anything. Seeing her cry made me want to ease her pain, to make her smile. It seemed like making her my responsibility wouldn't be a burden. There was even a hint of longing. After a while, I heard myself say, "Ava, let's get married." Before I was 14, my parents were strangers who only showed up on holidays. After 14, they were family who just asked if I had enough money. Did they love me? Probably. But the emotional gap of 14 years meant they didn't know how to get close to me. Every time I saw my mom warmly interacting with my younger brother, 5 years my junior, I comforted myself with that thought. When my parents heard I was getting married, my mom just asked about Ava's background and agreed. The wedding was set for a little over a month later. Ava wanted to keep it simple, but I refused. Although I couldn't give her a lavish wedding, she deserved everything a bride should have. Since I decided to marry her, I wouldn't let her feel a hint of grievance. After discussing wedding details, we headed back home. A blue Pagani Huayra was parked outside. Jake stepped out, his sharp features worn with fatigue. Dark circles under his eyes and stubble on his chin hinted he'd driven all night to get here. He glanced at Ava beside me, frowning. "Is she the one you're marrying?" As my close friend, he was the only one I'd told about the wedding. I nodded, and Jake's frown deepened. "Max, we need to talk." Ava left us the space, as composed and considerate as always. Jake watched her walk away, still frowning. Are you sure? Following his gaze, I softened my voice without realizing it. Yes, I'm sure. Jake sighed, trying to persuade me gently. Max, marriage isn't a game. You've loved Lily for so many years. I can't believe you'd fall for someone else so quickly. Lily hurt you, but that's no reason to hurt another innocent girl. Ask yourself, do you truly love her? I paused, images of my recent days with Ava flashing through my mind. Life with her was simple, yet steady. She didn't talk much, but every morning she'd prepare breakfast before I woke up, wearing a cartoon apron that didn't suit her elegant demeanor. She'd call me to wash up for breakfast with a smile. Little Pudding would wag his tail, circling around her repeatedly. The two of them together painted a picture of a quiet, homely life. In that moment, everything became clear. Turning to Jake, I patted his shoulder with resolve. Don't worry, I'd never hurt Ava. Do I love her? It feels like I do. After Jake left, I got busy with wedding preparations. The date was approaching fast, and there was a lot to arrange. Jake still messaged me regularly, occasionally mentioning Lily. He said Lily had gotten drunk and was manipulated by Ethan, who used compromising photos of her to pressure her into marriage. The incident caused a big stir, even making the news. The Lee family patriarch was furious, ordering Lily to step down from her role in the family business and reflect on her actions. Lily, who had been pampered her entire life, wasn't used to such hardships. Feeling down, she started drinking, and whenever she got drunk, she'd shout for me, refusing to listen to anyone else. Jake didn't tell me this directly. Dan did. Dan, after all these years, can't you forgive her just this once? Seeing her like this, doesn't it break your heart? I didn't reply. Heartbreak. For 12 years, she knew how I felt. She gave me hope while constantly dating others, whoever cared about my heart. Lily had tried adding me several times lately, but I ignored her. She'd call from different numbers, and I blocked them all. After she kicked me out for Ethan, there was no way we could even be friends. Some wounds can't be undone. Once love is shattered, mending it isn't simple. Besides, I already have Ava now. I saw Lily again over a month later. Dan messaged me, saying he was in a nearby town and asked to meet on the busiest street. Before leaving, I stuffed a stack of wedding invites into my bag, hoping he could help distribute them back home. The wedding preparations with Ava were nearly complete, and Uncle Sam's health continued to decline, though it was clear he was genuinely happy. Our marriage was likely the only splash of color in an otherwise gray season. Today, the pedestrian street's flower beds were filled with bright red roses, decorated with ribbons and balloons. Two young girls passing by chattered excitedly. Wow, which rich guy is proposing? It's so romantic. I heard it's actually a beautiful girl confessing her love. There's a whole sea of roses up ahead. They were flown in. Someone even saw a small plane this morning. Must be loaded. Let's go see. The crowd surged toward the spot where Dan and I had planned to meet. I frowned, starting to piece things together. A couple of days ago, I'd heard that the Lee family had given Ethan a $5 million breakup fee. Seeing no future with a wealthy family, he took the money and left, with my bag in hand. I moved with the crowd toward the meeting point. Sure enough, the place overflowing with roses was near the cafe where we were supposed to meet. The surrounding street was packed with layers of people. Occasionally, I heard girls gasp. The girl holding the flowers is stunning, and those guys next to her are handsome too. I love the one on the far right. He's got that bad boy vibe. So appealing. It's like a scene from a romance novel, beautiful heroine and her handsome knights. I wonder what the leading man looks like to have such a beautiful girl confessing publicly. Dan stood outside the crowd, and when he saw me, he excitedly pulled me into the throng. Make way, make way. The leading man has arrived. Quickly a path opened up. At the end of the path stood Lily, nervous yet hopeful, holding a large bouquet of Juliet's. Dan released my hand and nudged me toward her. Compared to me, his dedication to Lily probably deserved more respect. Lily, she called my name, a blush spreading across her delicate face. Amid the crowd's cheers, she slowly walked toward me. Behind her, our old friends wore expressions of delight, except for Jake on the far right, who leaned lazily against the wall with his arms crossed. Watching the scene unfold with a smirk, seeing me, he raised an eyebrow, setting off a wave of excited screams from the surrounding girls. Lily bit her lip, shyly holding the flowers out to me. Max, I'm sorry. I know what I did before was terrible. It wasn't until you left that I realized how much more important you are to me than I ever imagined. Will you give me another chance? Let me make up for my mistakes. I looked down, opened my bag, and pulled out an invite to hand to her. I'm getting married next week. Hope you can come. Lily froze, the expensive roses slipping from her hands, petals scattering. She stammered, Max, stop! Stop joking! This isn't funny. As she spoke, her eyes reddened. I ignored her, sidestepping to hand out the invites to the others, who were equally stunned. Remember to come to my wedding. I'd only told my parents and Jake about the wedding. Clearly, they hadn't spread the news. Lily rushed over, grabbing the invites I'd just handed out and tearing them to pieces, throwing them to the ground. Her red-rimmed eyes glared at me. Max, I just said it. This joke isn't funny. I didn't expect Lily's reaction to be so extreme. Tearing up as she spoke, she began shredding every invite in my bag and grabbed my arm, trying to pull me away. I broke free of her grip, smiling faintly. There are still plenty of things to prepare for the wedding, and my wife is waiting for me to return. I'll take my leave. 2 days later, Lily bought the house next door. Her flashy, limited edition Koenigsegg looked wildly out of place parked outside the modest home. She waited for me outside every day, begging for another chance. Growing tired of her persistence, I sternly told her, I'm about to get married. Please stop bothering me. She bit her lip, her eyes immediately welling up with tears. A few moments later, she slowly crouched down, clutching her head and sobbing. Max, I know I was wrong. Just give me one more chance. I'm begging you. Please, Max, don't be so heartless. This once proud woman humbled herself, sinking into the dust to beg for my forgiveness. Watching her sobbing on the ground, I felt nothing. Heartless. Then I didn't mind being a little more so. I bent down slightly. Sorry, Lily, but your presence makes Ava uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch. I returned the words she'd once said to me, word for word. The wedding went as planned. Outside, a line of wedding cars stretched down the road. Just before getting into the car, I saw Lily standing outside. She was dressed in a brand new white wedding gown with exquisitely done makeup. Ignoring her, I lowered my head to get into the car, but she rushed over and grabbed my arm. Her once clear voice was now hoarse, as if scraped by sand. Max, are you doing this to get back at me? Her red-rimmed eyes tried to hold a smile. You can punish me however you want. Just please don't marry someone else. I looked at her calmly and replied, No, this isn't to get back at you. I'm marrying Ava simply because I want to marry her. Tears fell down her face. Her grip on my sleeve tightened. But you don't love her, do you? I pushed her hand away, smiling faintly. If I didn't love her, why would I marry her? Lily, after all these years, you should know me at least that well. With that, I paid her no further attention and got into the car. As the procession pulled away, I could still see her lonely figure standing there in the rearview mirror, wrapped in white lace, a scene like a farce. Married life wasn't much different from before. To take care of Uncle Sam, we moved back to the little villa. Ava slept on the bed, while I slept on a mattress on the floor. Until I was certain of her feelings, I wanted to give her enough respect. Jake still kept in touch occasionally, chatting about life and checking in on me. He never brought up Lily again. I learned about Lily's father being ousted from the board through the news. Ethan was ruthless, albeit lacking a sense of legality. He copied several of Lily's bidding documents and sold them to Lee's competitors. Business was like a battlefield, and the Lee Corporation took a severe hit, suffering significant losses. With no other choice, Lee's father had to sell off his shares to cover the gap, although he had Ethan imprisoned. He was no longer the company's largest shareholder because it was Lily's actions that caused the mess. Other shareholders who had long harbored grievances took the opportunity to join forces and strip him of his position on the board. After reading this, I merely sighed, choosing not to inquire further. In a way, it seemed like a daughter paying for her father's sins. Uncle Sam ultimately didn't make it through the winter. Ava handled the funeral arrangements with an almost eerie calmness, so calm it was heartbreaking. Having been raised by her father alone, they naturally shared a deep bond. Maybe it was precisely because she lacked a mother that she took such good care of me. The kid who was often bullied for his absent parents. Over 6 months into our marriage, for the first time, I held her in my arms. She curled up, sobbing uncontrollably. Max, I don't have a father anymore. I gently patted her back, choking back my own tears to comfort her. You still have me. From now on, I'll be here with you, Ava, for the rest of our lives. Let's walk this path together, taking care of each other and keeping each other warm. Because of Uncle Sam, we'd stayed in this southern town for a while, but now it was time to return to the capital. While packing, Pudding trotted over and dropped a diary in front of me like a treasure. Covered in cobwebs, it seemed he had dug it out from some forgotten corner. Curious, I opened it to find years' worth of notes chronicling a girl's quiet, enduring love. It turned out that all those years I hadn't known, a gentle, reserved girl had been silently in love with me. Ava finished packing her things and came over to ask if I needed any help. She caught sight of me flipping through the diary. You saw it? She asked, a shy and slightly anxious tone in her voice. I looked up, blinking away the moisture in my eyes, and smiled at her. What a coincidence. I like you too. Our relationship may not be filled with wild, passionate romance, but marriage is about life's little details. Who says that a quiet, steady love isn't life itself?